Hey guys, ready to get mindful today? Well, thanks for joining me again. I've been talking this week about humility, and I defined it as having an accurate assessment of your strengths and your weaknesses. Got into a little more depth the next day. But the question kind of is, how do we really know if we're humble? If I think I'm humble, and I believe I'm humble, isn't that kind of an egotistic thought? That I think I'm humble? So how do we really know? And how we can gauge our level of humility is by doing a true assessment. If you have people in your life, and I certainly hope you do, that you really can trust to give you some honest feedback, then ask for it. It can be a very formal thing where you sit down and you list what you think your areas of strength are, your areas of limitation, your areas of ignorance, the mistakes that you've made that you directly contributed to or caused, and then ask somebody else to do the same thing for you. Somebody that you trust to give you open and honest feedback, and then compare the two. The true assessment of humility is how closely aligned your assessment is with the assessment of others. I mean, you can go through the list that I gave you the other day of those characteristics of unteachable people, and you assess yourself and ask somebody, several others. If you have several people that are willing to give you feedback, have them do the same thing against those 7 characteristics to really get a good evaluation of how accurately you're seeing yourself. The closer aligned your assessment is with their assessment, then the more humble you are. Because it's not up to us to determine our own level of humility. Our level of humility is determined by others. Again, because if I'm thinking that I'm a humble person, that's a very egotistical kind of thought. So avoid those. And it can also be very informal, right? It doesn't have to be a sit down and compare and contrast, because if we have honest and open people in our lives who are willing to give us that feedback, the feedback comes every day in various moments throughout the day. And we need to be open to those moments, to honestly sit down and reflect on those, digest them, and be objective in evaluating that feedback. You know, when I make a mistake and I start making some excuses, my wife won't let me off the hook on that. If it's something that I directly contributed to or caused, she kind of forces me to take that ownership of that. And I need that in my life. Because if I'm able to make excuses and she just lets me make the excuses and get off the hook that way, I'm never going to learn from that. I need to take that ownership so that I don't make those mistakes in the future, and and that I can learn from those. That's the point of those characteristics. If I have those characteristics of being unteachable, that's an issue that I need to address. And it's no fun, right? It stings when we get that open and honest feedback sometimes, because we don't like to be told that we're ignorant in this area or that it's not an area of our strength. But that stinging is a cue to us. That stinging should make us aware that that's the ego that's trying to rear its head. Because remember, the ego is going to seek to defend itself. And it will cause us to lash out, it'll cause us to dismiss that feedback, and we'll miss that learning opportunity. So whenever you feel that sting, recognize that as the ego trying to exert its control, and tamper that down so that you can truly be open and teachable and have that accurate assessment of your strengths and weaknesses and your limitations and your areas of ignorance, so that you can grow and you can learn. Fair enough. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you at some future Mindful Minutes with Dr. Rich Martin. Have a fantastic day.